Welcome back to Plot Munchers. Today we're delving into In Our Prime, the 2022 drama film that weaves an emotional and thought-provoking narrative. Spoilers ahead, so tread carefully. Spoiler alert ahead. The story introduces us to Han Ji-woo, a student at one of South Korea's elite high schools, a place reserved for the wealthiest and most privileged. Unlike his affluent peers, Ji-woo comes from a modest background and struggles to keep up academically, particularly in math, a subject crucial for college admissions. Once the top student at his previous school, Ji-woo now finds himself barely surviving in this competitive environment. Despite his determination, Ji-woo lacks the resources his classmates take for granted, such as private tutors and intensive boot camps. His math teacher, Mr. Kim, bluntly advises him to consider transferring, as his grades are far below the school's standards. One evening, Ji-woo's roommates bribe him to sneak out and buy snacks and drinks. However, he's caught by the night guard, Lee Hak-sung. The next morning, Mr. Kim pressures Ji-woo to reveal the names of his accomplices, but Ji-woo remains silent, choosing loyalty over self-preservation. This act of integrity catches the attention of his classmate, Park Bo-ram, but it also results in Ji-woo being temporarily expelled from the dorm. Returning home to his hard-working widowed mother, Ji-woo hides the fact that he has nowhere to stay. As he heads back to school, a sudden downpour forces him to seek shelter in an abandoned lab, where he crosses paths with Hak-sung once again. The guard, sensing Ji-woo's plight, allows him to stay in his office for the night. The next morning, Ji-woo discovers that his unfinished math homework has been completed by none other than Hak-sung. Though stunned, Ji-woo keeps this to himself, even when Bo-ram suggests reporting it to the teacher. Intrigued by Hak-sung's hidden talent, Ji-woo begins following him around, pleading for math lessons. Initially reluctant, Hak-sung eventually agrees, but on his own terms. No discussions about grades, and Ji-woo must bring him strawberry milk as payment. As their secret lessons progress, Ji-woo starts to grasp the deeper essence of solving math problems. Hak-sung teaches him that math is not just about finding the right answer, but about understanding the process and the journey. This shift in perspective helps Ji-woo see math as a tool for personal growth, rather than a mere academic hurdle. Meanwhile, Ji-woo begins to open up to Hak-sung about his frustrations and struggles, forging a deeper bond between them. When the prestigious Pythagoras math competition is announced, Ji-woo, with Hak-sung's guidance, dedicates himself to rigorous preparation. Through this process, Ji-woo realizes that math is more than a subject. It's a metaphor for resilience and self-discovery. As their journey unfolds, both Hak-sung and Ji-woo learn profound lessons, formative friendship. At this point, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories. Hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest content. Your support means the world to us. Hak-sung refrains from telling Ji-woo whether his answers are correct, explaining that a true mathematician must discover the truth for themselves. Over the weeks, Ji-woo's math skills improve significantly. However, he receives devastating news. A close friend and fellow welfare student is transferring back to his old school, admitting that attending this elite institution was never worth it. This revelation forces Ji-woo to reflect on his own situation. Bo-ram tries to comfort him, but Ji-woo feels she's mocking him by comparing their circumstances, as she's also labeled a welfare student due to her parents' divorce, though she isn't financially struggling. Their conversation is cut short when Bo-ram's mother arrives, scolding her for associating with a welfare kid. Later, Bo-ram's mother hires Mr. Kim as a private tutor, an illegal arrangement, and insists Bo-ram focus solely on her studies. That night, Ji-woo confides in Hak-sung about his friend's decision to leave and wonders if he should transfer as well. Hak-sung encourages him to stay strong, emphasizing that success isn't about intelligence, but the courage to persevere. He shows Ji-woo his corrected exercises, pointing out that while some final answers were wrong, Ji-woo had mastered the process, a sign of true progress. When Ji-woo returns to the dorms after his suspension, he admits to missing his time with Hak-sung. The next day, Bo-ram gives him strawberry milk and an apology note. However, when Ji-woo gets distracted, Bo-ram follows him to the abandoned lab and discovers his secret. She thanks Hak-sung for looking after Ji-woo and asks if she can visit occasionally. Hak-sung agrees, as long as she keeps it a secret. She playfully calls him Kami Officer, which confuses him since, despite being from North Korea, he was exempt from military service. One evening, Ji-woo asks Hak-sung why he dedicated himself to math. Hak-sung explains that it began as a way to secure a scholarship for his family but evolved into a genuine passion. Later, they invite Bo-ram to join them at the piano, where Hak-sung teaches them a trick to create a melody using the number pi. In math class, Ji-woo corrects Mr. Kim's answer using the logical approach Hak-sung taught him. However, Mr. Kim scolds him, stating that it's not about the right answer but the one the examiner expects. Ji-woo refuses to compromise his principles, even when Mr. Kim punishes him by making him stand outside. As the day of the Pythagoras test arrives, Ji-woo performs exceptionally well, thanks to Hak-sung's teachings. Bo-ram, however, becomes frustrated and leaves before finishing. Her mother lies to the school, claiming they're going on a trip. Ji-woo's attempts to contact her go unanswered. Later, Ji-woo and Hak-sung attend a classical concert, courtesy of Bo-ram's free tickets. Though she doesn't show up, Hak-sung is moved to tears by the performance. Afterward, Hak-sung invites Ji-woo to dinner at his place, where Ji-woo realizes it's the first time he's seen Hak-sung eat. Meanwhile, someone leaks the Pythagoras test online, causing chaos. The teachers scramble to find the culprit to avoid being fired. During a trip to a bookstore, a stranger recognizes Hak-sung as a doctor and a mathematical genius, leaving Ji-woo puzzled. Hak-sung quickly leaves without explanation. Back home, Hak-sung reminisces about his son, Lee Tae-yeon, and their shared memories, such as buying strawberry milk, Tae-yeon's favorite. The next day, news breaks that the Riemann hypothesis, one of the most significant unsolved problems in mathematics, is close to being solved by a renowned North Korean mathematician named Lee Hak-sung. Professor Oh recalls meeting Hak-sung at a math Olympiad in their youth, Hak-sung representing the North and Oh representing the South. Ji-woo confronts Hak-sung about the news, but Hak-sung reacts angrily, forbidding Ji-woo from mentioning the Riemann hypothesis again. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim struggles with the test leak scandal, as his reputation is at stake. Security footage reveals Ji-woo sneaking out of the computer lab with printed sheets, leading Mr. Kim to accuse him of leaking the test. Despite Ji-woo's protests, no one believes him. Mr. Kim offers him a deal: transfer quietly, and he won't make the accusation public. As rumors spread, Bo-ram becomes upset, knowing the truth. Gi Cheol, Hak-sung's handler, faces pressure from North Korea, which is angry that the South is taking credit for Hak-sung's discoveries, tied to military encryption. The NIS asks Gi Cheol to convince Hak-sung to appear on TV to clarify the situation. Hak-sung's name dominates the news, and an old colleague visits him, urging him to return to the North. The colleague admits that bringing Hak-sung back would earn him forgiveness, which angers Hak-sung, especially when his son's death is mentioned. Gi Cheol apologizes for failing to protect Hak-sung from the NIS, but Hak-sung is grateful for the years of safety. While packing to leave, Gi Cheol returns Hak-sung's research document, which Hak-sung had tried to discard years ago. Gi Cheol saved it, believing it was too valuable to lose. At this moment, Ji-woo arrives, but overhears Hak-sung shouting inside. Hak-sung is furious because his research cost him his son's life, and he refuses to let it be used on TV. After Gi Cheol leaves, Ji-woo tries to talk to Hak-sung, but the old man lashes out, denying their relationship as anything more than tutor and student. Later, Ji-woo receives a call from Bo-ram, who is upset that he's allowing himself to be framed. He simply tells her it's over and hangs up. Meanwhile, Hak-sung arrives at the bus station and, mistaking a stranger for his son, recalls the night Tae-yeon died. Tae-yeon had accused Hak-sung of defecting for selfish reasons, and in a fit of anger, he tried to swim back to the north, only to be shot by Border Patrol. Back at Ji-woo's house, he sneaks in to use his mother's stamp on the transfer papers while she sleeps. The next morning, he submits the papers to Mr. Kim, who tells him he made the right decision. Hak-sung, hiding in a hotel, is surprised to receive a call from Bo-ram about Ji-woo's transfer. That afternoon, During the Pythagoras Award ceremony, Ji-woo is about to leave the school when Bo-ram drags him to the auditorium. Professor Oh opens the ceremony by discussing the recently proven theory. At this moment, Hak-sung rushes in, having just released his turtle into the river. He presents his pen as proof of his identity, and Professor Oh welcomes him, allowing him to give a speech. In his speech, Hak-sung jokes about his work as a guard, and then confesses that he was the one who taught Ji-woo math, presenting the printed thesis as proof that Ji-woo didn't leak the test. He also reveals that Mr. Kim leaked the test to his private students, causing Mr. Kim to leave in shame. Hak-sung shares his story. He defected from North Korea to study math, but his government used his research for weapons. His goal was to help people find jobs and get into good colleges, but his ambition cost him his son's life. Despite his shame, Ji-woo never saw him that way and remained loyal, even at the risk of his own future. Tears in his eyes, Hak-sung thanks Ji-woo for believing in him. Gi-cheol, who has been listening, leaves without asking about the TV interview. However, he waits outside and offers Hak-sung a ride. After discarding the smartphone he had given him, Gi-cheol surprises Hak-sung with a new legal passport, marking him as a South Korean citizen, along with tickets to leave town and avoid the NIS. Though Gi-cheol will likely lose his job, he believes it's worth it. Sometime later, Gi-cheol visits Ji-woo to deliver the gift Hak-sung left for him, the famous pen and the first draft of his thesis. 3 years later, Ji-woo and his college class visit the prestigious Oberwolfach Research Institute for Mathematics, where Hak-sung now works. Ji-woo surprises him with strawberry milk and a hug before engaging in a long discussion about math.